Duncan, thank you again for taking a Supsail up to Liverpool for me, really appreciate it. So I'm just going to give you a quick tutorial on how to use the Supsail. If you're demonstrating it to someone, you may want to use the following technique, which is what I do, which is getting someone to guess how quickly they can launch the Supsail for, and ask them to come up with a number in seconds. And then I initiate what is known as the turbo launch. So with the turbo launch, you place the grab handle against your belly and grab the outer two boom masts, and literally you just, with one stroke, you've launched the sail. And it's just a very good way to show how quick it launches. I've now got it to sub 2 seconds. Key to anyone going out is showing them how to collapse the Supsail, because there is a knack to it, and there are two methods for doing. There's either a push method, where the individual needs to press simultaneously the buttons either side of the crux, and you've got these little red buttons here and here. So if I was to lower the sail using the button mechanism, and the rule always is hold the boom mast, one of these three things, at the point that when you want to close the thing. So I'm going to move this boom mast down. I'm in the flag drop position. So I lift the little boom mast a bit, and then I can release it down. Lift the boom mast a little bit, press the buttons, and it should close down. So that's the technique for the flag drop. Anyone going out for their first time who's a completely novice sailor, that is quite an advanced technique, particularly if there's a bit of wind, because they'll be having to get used to going head to with a sail. I know you're a sailor, so you'll understand that terminology. I try not to use any sailing terminology for a paddleboarder who's got no sailing experience. I just want to get them downwinding and getting that sense and that feeling of standing up and effectively taking their Supsail with their paddleboard on a kind of downwinding adventure. So getting comfortable with this mechanism is important, but actually again, if I do a turbo launch, the safest way to do a sail drop is something called a deck drop, where you grab the Supsail, you ideally, although it's not essential, flip the sail up onto its back and drop it down onto the deck. You can then operate the mechanism like so, or again pulling on dongles like so. So you've got either a pull or a push mechanism to collapse the sail. So that is the deck drop, the safest way to do a drop. You've obviously got, if you're standing up, if the wind's quite not so strong, a force 2 or force 3, you can easily just do one sail at a time. Again, listen for both clicks as the connector arm locks into position to each side. And again, very quickly, the 7 stages of Supsail. If you're a complete beginner, you bring up one wing to begin with, and you get used to just the board starting to move under sail. If I want to go straight down the wind, I keep having the sail like so in front of me. If I want to go to the right, I swoop the sail down to the left. And I've got this thing called the aero jibe, where you lift the sail up, rotate to go around to the other side. So that is the stage 1, or the simplest way, in a kind of reefed fashion with a Supsail. You can then go to stage 2, where you bring up the second wing, and at this point you can really only go straight down the wind. You're running with the wind at this point, which is great again for beginners, where they can just see exactly where they're going. But you very quickly want to get to stage 3, which is kind of windsurf mode, where you rotate the sail up on its side, scoot round to the left or go to the right, and then the aero jibe again, this time a 180 rather than a 90-degree turn. Lift, rotate, scoot round to the right, and then you've got a kind of left turn. So that's kind of all you want to do to get someone going for their first stage, for their first go. You may encourage them to stage 4, where they actually use the sail as a kite and they hold it in the air and do little motions like that. And actually, when you do an aero jibe, you're effectively kiting at that point. Don't forget to flare out the sail. So if the wind's quite strong, the individual at any point can just let the air spill out under the sail to depower. So the benefit of not being attached to the board, people often think, oh, it needs to be attached to the board. No, you don't need to. It's like a wing foil, effectively. You don't need to be attached to the board, and that just gives you a lot of manoeuvrability. At any point, if you just grab the grab handle, you'll immediately depower the sail. So, just to recap, you've got get the individual before they go out, when you loan them out the Supsail, to practice at least 6 times on the land, so they're super comfortable with collapsing the sail. Either, and remember, you hold the boom mast, you're about to move, you either pull on the dongle or you press the buttons in order to drop the sail. Get them to practice both mechanisms 6 times just to get the feel of it. Then they know when they're out on the water very comfortably, they can collapse the sail and immediately revert back to paddle mode in their comfort zone. So just a thing about position. So when the Supsail is on the board, again, make sure the crux is facing forward. There's a little dongle that comes with this that attaches nicely to the board. You effectively feed that through the grab handle in the middle of the board, push the 2 ends through. That then secures onto the grab handle, and you've then got a simple hoop mechanism, a carabiner that can go round the Supsail to keep it secured on the board. And then just about positioning the paddle, again, unless people have thought it through, they just sort of randomly put the paddle down on the board. What I've found is the best way to put the paddle is with the cup of the paddle right over the bow of the board, under the elastic straps that are on the front of the board. So the motion is to put the paddle in front of you under those elastic straps. You've then got the deck free of the paddle and it's secured because it's under the elastic straps. You can then grab the Supsail and either, if you're in slow motion mode, do one at a time, or again, if you are quick and have mastered the turbo launch, throw it in like so. If you're feeling like you want to, yeah, and don't forget, make sure that's pressed against your belly as you do so. If you want to practice the latest maneuver, which I've only perfected 2 weeks ago, called the snap drop. So remember, we've got the deck drop where it's lower down on the deck. You've got the flag drop where the sail is head to and you're dropping it down like so. But if you want to practice the snap drop, it's a bit like the turbo launch but in reverse. Again, you let the sail, you're holding it by the grab handle. You now put both thumbs on the top buttons, the fingers on the underneath buttons, and you just do a little shake like so. Sail drops, and then you put it back in, grab paddle, and away you go. So I think I've covered all the processes now that you need to think about. Do have a really good mess around, and I'd be delighted for you to borrow it for a few weeks after you get back from Liverpool. Have a go with it yourself out on the water. It's great fun, and be delighted for you to use it. This is a small size, so it's ideal for the one to be loaned out to people, particularly the female frame. They always seem to prefer the smaller sail. I think you'd probably be more comfortable with a medium yourself, but you can sort of figure that out through from there. So thank you again for the support.